right? Because he was made manifest. Okay, those things pointed to him. Everything has pointed to Christ since the fall of Adam and Eve, right? Because God promised to redeem them by His own blood, right? And he made that promise to them all the way back in the beginning. Okay, and now, okay, so everything prior to His earthly ministry pointed to Him. Okay, and then He brought those things to completion. Okay, putting them, and now those things have been brought to completion. They can be put away because now Christ is. Now He's ruling from off His throne. Okay, He has provided this pattern for our redemption, for the cleansing of our conscience, for the purging of sin. Okay, within our hearts. Right, that we would be separate from that system, and the fruit of that system, which had been birthed within our hearts in the past, will now be purged from us. This is that work of sanctification and regeneration taking place within the soul. Right, the cleansing, the purging, the scourging, the chastening that takes place. This is through the Spirit and the truth. Okay, it's not apart from these things, by these things. Right, and this is a reality that we experience every day as we keep covenant with God. You talk to Christians, unconverted believers, okay, they're not experiencing that, right? They try to imagine that they might be experiencing it, but when they continue to testify of sin and death, right, they're telling you that they're not experiencing it. They're not experiencing the life of Christ. So let's go on here. Okay. Well, it looks like we can go on in here to 1 Peter chapter 4. Okay, where he was talking about as concerning the pattern of grace and suffering. Okay, now he's talking about the pattern of suffering and glory. Okay, you'll notice that he uses the word suffer 6 times, okay, in this chapter, but he doesn't mention prosperity once. Okay, and we enter the lashes of fire. We endure the lashes of fire, for we love Him. Okay, this is the chastening of the Lord. We endure this, for we love Him. Okay, and this is not to punish us, but for a reward. Okay, that we remain focused upon Christ. Okay, and prosper in His care. Okay, and flourish in the fruit of faith. So our cleansing and our purging at this time is necessary for us to be joined back to Him in the time to come. And there is no shame in our suffering for His name because we bring forth His glory. Right? As we seek to be one with God and joined back to God, okay, to be received back into the light of His bosom, okay, then we must endure this time of purging and cleansing. Okay, we must have our souls filled with His substance, the substance of His light and His life. Okay, because there's no darkness in Him. Okay, therefore those who refuse this time of cleansing now, okay, can't be received back to Him, right? Which is why they must remain separated from Him. Okay, they chose separation from God so that they can continue in iniquity, okay, where they could find their pleasure outside of God, right? Well, then, therefore, they remain separated from God in the time to come. Okay, but those who deny those things now, in order to exercise their faith with the things of the covenant, okay, are able to continue to exercise their faith and be joined to God, okay, eternally. Right? This is their reward. Right? So they will be one with Him forever and ever, ongoing, without end. Okay, as I said, weeks without end. Okay, that the increase will be perpetual. It will be ongoing. It's absolutely incredible to even think about that. Right, non-stop, perpetual increase. Okay, there's no end. It's incredible. And this is why I say there's no shame for our suffering in His name, because we're bearing forth fruit. Okay, shame has to do with being fruitless. Okay, there's no shame in our suffering because we bear forth fruit by this pattern of suffering and glory. So verse 1 here, he says, For as much then as Christ has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind, for he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. Now, suffering for us in the flesh has to do with while in the form of flesh, right? That He restricted Himself from using the power of His divinity in order to set the pattern for our overcoming. He did this so that we who are in the flesh could follow the same pattern that He set for us through submission to grace. right? That we're able to follow the same pattern. If he had exercised himself with his power, okay, and instead of and gone beyond the restrictions that he'd set for himself, okay, then we wouldn't be able to follow after that pattern, would we? Because we're not able to exercise, we're not able to do that. Okay, but he chose to restrict himself from using the power of his divinity, okay, in order to set this pattern for our overcoming. So also do we willingly submit ourselves to following after the same pattern. Okay, instead of exercising our faith with the powers of this world, okay, which are many, we exercise our faith with the power of the Spirit of God, which is one. Okay, and as we submit ourselves to the power of the Spirit, which is greater, right, then we are able then to subdue the other powers, which is what he was talking about there in verse 22. Right, the angels and authorities and powers being made subject to him. Okay, that as we work with the power of the Spirit, we're able to subdue those other powers which seek to divert faith. Okay, now, and we work instead with those powers, uh, the power of the Spirit, which in His name. Okay, working with those the sanctified things of the covenant. All right, in order to subdue the earthly powers. Okay, instead join ourselves to the things of the Spirit from the throne of God. Okay, so here when he talks about arming yourselves, likewise. Okay, arming yourselves has to do with prepare yourself. Right? We do this through the three P's, right? Prayer, preaching, and prophecy. Okay, the three P's. You might want to make note of that there next to this verse here, the three P's. These are the tools of the new covenant priesthood. Okay, these are the weapons of our warfare. So as soldiers, continue training daily, even during times of peace. Right? So we must also labor in faith daily to keep our vessels full. Okay, it's no different. And being of the same mind has to do with the same pattern. Okay, grace and suffering, suffering and glory. All right, we're mindful of God's plan and we're obedient to His voice. All right, and we continue to experience this work that He's put us in expectation of. It's interesting because God makes known His expectation and He also sets our expectations. Right? So that He's setting our hope in Christ because we are in expectation of Christ, right? Because our faith is being governed by that knowledge. So we're not projecting with the knowledge of God. We're not reading precept and line and projecting with those things like we once did. Okay, trying to project the outcome. Okay, but we are reflecting upon that which God has made known for our faith, right? We're reflecting upon the record. We're reflecting upon what He has put us in expectation to us concerning Christ, that Christ would manifest Himself, okay, and perform His work within our souls, which He continues to do, and He confirms these things through dreams and visions, okay, that we experience as we're keeping covenant with God, right? That He continues to manifest Himself to us. And here when He talks about ceased from sin, okay, now sin is a system. Okay, sin speaks of the kingdom of darkness. Now, sins, plural, all right, has to do with the fruit of that system in the heart. Okay, so sin, singular, just sin, speaks of the kingdom of darkness. That's a system, and sins is the fruit. That's the plural. Okay, so Peter is talking about resourcing that system to find comfort and completion. So they that are keeping the commandments of Christ are denying their own principle and no longer building with their aspiration. Okay? We are no longer working with that system of darkness as we remain joined to His light. The power of sin lies in the power of the imagination, okay, which works with the principle and the aspiration. Therefore, as we are dying to ourselves daily through the things that we suffer according to the will of God, we have ceased from sin. Okay? You can't do that without your overcoming. You can't overcome without the priesthood, and you can't exercise your faith in the priesthood apart from the tools of the covenant. Okay? You need the knowledge and the power. All right? Which is why I just posted, this morning is concerning the covenant apostles assist others, okay, in transitioning their faith from precept to power. Okay, it's not the letter that kills, okay, but the Spirit gives life. All right, so we have ceased from sin. We're no longer working with that kingdom of darkness. No longer we're We're no longer exploring with our imagination in order to try to build for ourselves some form of redemption, okay, through works of contrition. Okay, instead, okay, we've brought these things into submission to Christ. Okay, that we have subdued those powers, restrict ourselves to the knowledge of the covenant. Okay, coming into the restrictions of the record that Christ set for us. Okay, and through this pattern of grace and suffering and glory, okay, we're bearing forth fruit to the Father. Okay, we've ceased from sin. We're walking in the light of God. That's what that means. That's the reality of it. Now, truth gives power to the will for faith. Imagination must be restricted. Okay, when we work with the powers of His virtues, we subdue the power of sin in the flesh, and the powers of the soul are set in order. Okay, this is Christ working within us. So we have to work with that power that is necessary for this to take place. Okay, because it can't take place apart from that power. Okay, and we can't work healing within the soul by our own power. Okay, it's not something we can do ourselves. Right? Therefore, we have to work with what God has provided for our faith. It's just like when you go, if you need something, let's say you need a surgery done, and they say, okay, well, we need you to come to the hospital. You say, no, I want you to come to my house. They're like, well, you got a problem then, don't you? Right? Because they set the terms. Okay, we don't set the terms; they set the terms. Okay, they're not the ones. They're the ones that have prepared the proper environment for that process to take place. We have to enter into that environment. Okay, they're the ones that are providing for that work to take place. Okay, so we have to cooperate with them. It's the same thing with Christ, right? He has set the environment for the regeneration of our souls. We don't get to choose that environment for ourselves. Okay, we don't bring Him down to us. Okay, our faith has to be elevated to Him. It has to be joined to Him through the Spirit. Okay, which is from above, not from beneath. Right? So we have to work with that power from above, okay, in order to enter into that environment that He's provided for our faith, which is concerning the assembly, okay, and the priesthood, and have this to experience this work within our hearts. There's about 4 minutes left, so you might make sure you got your getting your sacrifices ready. Verse 2, so that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lusts of men, but to the will of God. Okay, no longer has to do with no longer being ruled by the powers of darkness, which distracts Adam in vain labor, which does not join his faith to God's light. Our conversation marks a point in time. Okay, there was nothing prior to our conversation, which was our conversion. Okay, which is the point of our conversion is our conversation now being made chaste by truth. Okay, so our conversion marks a point in time. That's that point of sanctification. So there's nothing prior to our conversion which was of any value for building with. Okay, prior to that point, our conversation, okay, was confirming the kingdom of darkness. Okay, out of the mouth comes that which was within the heart. Okay, but now, all right, our conversation has been changed. Okay, as we're coming into agreement with Christ. Okay, we're now confirming the work of Christ within the heart. We're confirming that which is within the soul.